Welcome, Celina. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Super excited to have this conversation with you.
What's one habit that can significantly accelerate career growth?
Yeah, what I would say now is probably different than I would have said when I started my coaching business. But I think, especially with the climate nowadays and how everything is kind of changing, I would recommend networking as kind of the number one kind of lead generation or demand generation tool for your business or your personal development track. Networking has just escalated so much in how important it is nowadays because it's been so much harder. I've seen, at least with my personal, business and my clients, trying to get jobs. You can have the perfect resume, you can have the perfect LinkedIn, and you can apply to literally 1,000 plus roles and maybe get 10, 15 interviews. And so I think overall, if your goal is to try to, accelerate your career, and really own your career track, networking is honestly the best way that you're able to do that. And whether that's now, whether it's focusing on developing it long term, really investing as much time as you are in your resources and your personal development as you are in your network.
What is the best piece of career advice that you have ever received?
I think, again, investing in your personal brand along the trajectory of your career, ultimately focusing as much as what you're creating and doing as you are talking about it. Because if no one knows what you're doing and you're creating amazing work, I think it's kind of like that adage where if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, like, did it actually fall? You can create the most amazing skills, but in your company, in your organization, if your leadership doesn't know, you're not going to get promoted, right? And you're not going to be called out. The work won't speak enough for itself. You have to spend as much time almost like marketing yourself as you do creating the actual good work.
That's fascinating. I like how you touch on sort of the marketing piece because you have to sell yourself, but market yourself simultaneously before you sell yourself. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. What's the most important skill that every young professional should focus on?
I think it comes back to what I was just saying is networking. I think that's something I myself didn't really work on. I think once you get into a job, you're just focused on the role and trying to do your best at that role. But again, if you're not creating connections in your company, but also outside of your company, you're not setting yourself up for future success. I think you're putting the onus on your management or your direct leadership to be able to help you with your career because you're thinking, okay, well, if I just focus on the work, they'll see it and they'll promote me. And that's it can work, but it's going to take you much longer. And again, you're really depending on other people for your success. But if you network and you promote yourself internally at the company, but also spend time every week, even if it's just an hour on LinkedIn, making new connections, sending DMs and trying to have more conversations, that way, other people outside of your company will be able to tell you when there's new opportunities, they can refer you for roles. I think that honestly, it needs to be, if not half of your time while you're working, at least like a quarter, because it really is just almost future proofing your career and allowing you to have other opportunities should you not get it, the promotion that you thought you would get, should there be layoffs, should something happen at the company, you've already got this other network, a little like a safety net, right? To like help you as you advance.
It's important because so often managers are busy in their own world, right? They've got a lot of things going on. So sometimes if you're not staying top of mind, then that opportunity might fall by the wayside. So if you're sort of creating that net for yourself by networking, yeah, you're creating that job security for yourself. So I appreciate you touching on that.
I would also say, wait, not only that, it's not only that your managers are busy, but your managers have their own agenda. They're people as well that also want to advance. And, should your work or you fall on that agenda, great. Right? Because that is one career trajectory that can work, is attaching yourself to a manager who supports you and sees your value, and they can literally help you go up the company. I've seen people move other careers or to other companies and get higher job titles. So if your manager is a good one, invest in them and that building that relationship, and it could help. But if it's not, then again, they're not going to think about you. They might even use your work to boost their own gain, right? And present it as their own to management. I've also seen that happen, right? So it's just, you have to really assess like what type of manager do you have? And that way you can kind of choose, is this somebody that I'm actually going to really, really push for, or do I need to actually advocate for myself more?
Wow. And then what motivates you to do career coaching?
For me, I think it's really making a difference in people's lives. I think my career, which we can talk about later, has always kind of been motivated by helping. At my core, it's funny. I know some people are really motivated by money and wanting to make more and setting themselves up for success. And for me, money has never really mattered. I've known, you have to work, you have to have money to, live. But ultimately, I've always been somebody who just loves helping people and loving seeing positive outcomes by the work that I do. And career coaching was never on my agenda. It was never something that I had, strived for. It was actually, corporate was always the opposite of what I wanted for my own career. So to be here helping other people, get corporate jobs is just really ironic and funny to me. But really, just I love seeing the transformation in people's lives. When people come and work with me afterwards, I'm able to help them double, triple their salaries and help, get better titles. It then, boosts what they're able to do outside of work, starting new side businesses, new passions, and just feeling more confident in themselves and happy with their lives. Like to me, it's just the most beautiful thing because I've been there. I know how hard it is to really get that first opportunity or get your foot in the door and to know that you're full of potential, that you can really do things, but people just aren't allowing you to do that. So by helping people kind of transform their brand narrative and transform how they talk about themselves and seeing them get that opportunity is just wonderful.
That's so incredible. Like, what a wonderful thing to do day in and day out, right? Like, transform people's lives. That's so cool because it's just such a unique way of giving back and helping those, who are kind of walking that path that you've been down before as well. So, I appreciate you doing that. It's really wonderful to see and hear that you're out there helping other people because, like you mentioned, it really affects their personal lives as well, right? So, and then what's the best investment you've ever made in yourself?
For me personally, it would be my MBA. Education, I think, was so helpful for me because at that time in my life, I was at a kind of a cross in the road and didn't know what to do next. I knew that I wanted to, excel. Talking about money, I knew I wanted, again, never had been super motivated by money, but I knew that at that point when I was like in my early 30s, that I needed to make more if I wanted to have like a more comfortable lifestyle. And for me, the best way to do that was my MBA. And so it allowed me to not only, secure much better job titles, it allowed me to travel the world, gave me the skills that I needed to start a business, gave me a network that, accelerated every goal that I had had. And it gave me a wonderful, enriching experience. Also gave me a lot of debt. So it kind of depends on your view of, what you honestly want. But ultimately, I've learned that there are certain types of debt that are good to take on if they allow you to, kind of leapfrog in your career path later. So you have to kind of, weigh it out for yourself. But for me, the MBA was, probably the best thing I could have done for myself.
The education is that powerful piece that will accelerate you in whatever you want to do in life. And then what's the best way to stand out in a job interview?
So my whole ethos as a career coach is really based on my background of marketing and sales, and my being a product marketing manager in particular. And what I've learned is that interviewing is not a conversation. You really need to understand that you're a product that can solve a need, and you need to learn how to position yourself as such. So you need to understand, instead of talking about what you can do, you need to kind of you need to transform your thinking and your messaging to say, what can you do for them across your resume, across your LinkedIn, and across your interviewing? Think about what is the biggest pain point that your ideal audience, or the recruiting team, the hiring manager, the company itself, what problems are they trying to solve, and how can you directly impact and solve those and transform those problems into solutions for them?
Hmm. I like that mindset change, because so often we're like, what can you do for me? It's more like, I can give to you. What can I do for you to make your lives easier? But really sitting back and understanding those pain points is because I think so many times people just apply, right? And they do stuff just to get it done versus let me actually spend time to really craft this messaging, make sure I'm hitting the right market for it and then apply myself. How can young professionals quickly build credibility in a new role?
I would say digging in and doing the work, making sure that you're, really hitting on all the points that you're hired for, asking for help if you need it, trying to do some self-learning if you need to, because there's so many courses online now, and there's so many, the school of YouTube and all of these things that you can do to level up a little bit. Like I would say that with a caveat, obviously, as somebody with an educational background, like I think YouTube can help in some sense. Like it can teach you a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, obviously, like you need to do the work yourself and learn. But I think A is building that brand credibility as somebody who can actually do the work that's given to them. I think another thing is really focusing on team building and like you said, right, like what can you do for them? So thinking about outside of my lane, how can I actually help my team, the org as a whole, right? And being able to stand up and offer help to other people who might need it. I think for me at Google, that was one thing that I did where I would work with other teams because I was someone who finished my work really quickly. And so I would always have extra time, and my teammates were joke that I was like the workhorse, right? And sometimes it was a good thing, but sometimes it was bad because my manager would be like, Celina, you're making me work more because now I have to find like new things for you to do. So like slow your roll, slow down, right? And so for me, it was like, well, instead of trying to, keep bugging her, why don't I try to find other teams that I could help with? And so I would help with like Salesforce, database cleanup, or if another team needed an additional webinar, built. And we can kind of talk about the work that I did later, like to make more sense. But ultimately, it was just looking for opportunities with other teams to provide value that was in my skill set, so that I wasn't causing them extra work, that I was creating a brand for myself within the org and establishing myself as someone that other people could come to for help. I think all of that gave me more visibility. It allowed me to build up my network. And then that helps me ultimately advance and get my next role.
Yeah, I think that sort of cross interdepartmental awareness is really key, just to be able to connect with other folks so that they become champions of you when you sort of cross the leadership's table, and then the decision needs to be made. You have other advocates on your side. What is one of your favorite books?
I have a lot of favorite books. I love, love, love reading. I know a lot of people aren't. It seems like everybody is kind of into like digital and like Instagram videos for learning nowadays, but like I love, love, love reading, and any kind of like nonfiction business transformation development book has always been just, it always catches my eye. One is called Believe It by Jamie Kern Lima. Actually, I think I have it right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is a really, I had it, I was looking at it. She was the founder of It Cosmetics, and it sold to L'Oreal for like $3 billion. And so trying to figure out how startups kind of get the idea, do the work to be able to bring it to market, and then actually, having an acquisition or selling later, and seeing how hard it is. Like, I think that so many people, we see that 5-second reel, or, the quick kind of win, and think, wow, like somebody did this and within, a year were able to sell their business. And it's not true. Like life takes work, takes planning, it takes grit. And so any kind of book that helps me remember that gives me inspiration in my own life, because, you go through so many struggles, and it's easy to think you're in it alone, or to think that you can't do it. But having that kind of point of inspiration is so helpful.
What is one mistake that you see young professionals making most often?
Something I see constantly, not even with young professionals, but even seasoned professionals up to the VP level, is not positioning themselves correctly. I think most people, they start with an inward outward kind of trajectory or approach when they're building out their resume, their LinkedIn, interviewing, etc. They think, what have I done? Let me talk about it. And that, frankly, it's just the wrong way of going about things. Going back to what we said, what can you do for them? It's better to start with the end goal in mind and work your way backwards. So that means looking at the role or the company that that you want to work for, and saying, what are they asking? Like, what are they saying they need help with? And what are the problems they're trying to solve? And then how can I translate my direct experience into the solution for them? That's what's going to make them want to hire you. So thinking about that first in your resume, and thinking, okay, how can I tell my story in a way that's going to directly solve their needs? What wins can I communicate? What tasks can I talk about that I achieved? What soft skills do I have that are going to directly solve those problems? And then how do I translate that into my interviewing skills, so that when someone listens to me, they can say, oh my gosh, I need to hire Wade tomorrow because he's already done everything that I'm asking for. I'm not going to have to worry about onboarding him and training him, and it's not going to cause me more stress or time to be able to get him up to speed. I want to hire him tomorrow and know he's going to be able to do everything, and I can focus on other things. So the way you do that is by starting at the end and working your way backwards, or thinking, what's in it for them versus, what can I do?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why career coaching is extremely important. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to Celina, because there's a wealth of knowledge there. Celina, thank you for that. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge.